Guys, what if I told you there is a perfect Pokemon game that doesn't exist yet? Well, you'd probably believe me, because of course there is. We're going to talk about the perfect Pokemon game that we want that doesn't exist yet. Let's dive right into it.
Bros and badges, gotta collect them all.
Welcome back to Bros and Badges, our daily podcast. And yes, today Joe and I are talking about the perfect Pokemon game that we want to see. Again, it doesn't exist yet, but this is the game we would like to exist. And Joe, let's dive right into this. What are some things we would like to see? I know for me, I want a region that is vast and very explorable. I want something similar to what we've seen so far with Winds and Waves, like this region that just looks like beautiful and fun and interesting to explore, but that also has a very like deep and rich post game, similar to like a Gold and Silver, where there's just some surprise at the end, or maybe something similar to like Emerald, where there's a battle tower, you know, like etc. Just something that gives us a lot of like late game content afterwards to do, and like a new area afterwards that you didn't expect. I mean, I guess you could say that Area Zero is a little bit like that for Scarlet and Violet, but that area also ran at like 1 frame per second, so we're not counting that. Anyway, yeah, I want a vast, explorable region. I don't feel like I've felt the call to explore a Pokemon region ever since like Hoenn, the way that I did with that game. Like that region was just like so fun to explore, and I want something similar to that again. I would love to see like different weather effects and stuff happening in the region too, different ways that's like affecting Pokemon or like the townspeople. I think like more synergy with the NPCs and like what's actually happening in the world, and like them interacting with more things would be really cool. Like if there was a little more agency with some of the NPCs too, would be like super cool. I got a whole list here, but what are some of the things you would like to see in the perfect Pokemon game, Joe?
Yeah, I think going off of what you've said so far, I think a major pull for me is also having a world that is super explorable. I think the closest we've gotten to the perfect world in a Pokemon game, for me personally, was Legends Arceus. I really loved, each biome and running around and being able to find secrets. I thought it was really cool the way they integrated certain legendaries, like how they were kind of puzzles in the world that you had to solve. There's something so great about seeing like a cave and actually being able to go in and explore inside of it and not having like a loading screen in between. I think the only thing that really killed Legends Arceus for me personally is that it's not a true open world. It was more of a Monster Hunter-esque game where you're selecting the area and then you're having this smaller kind of like hub world. I think Scarlet and Violet was very close to what I was looking for. Obviously that game ran like garbage, so I don't even really want to bring up Scarlet and Violet, but in a perfect world, I would love a Pokemon game that has a vast open world in that sense. But a major thing for me personally is, and this was something that I was very disappointed in, among other things when it came to Scarlet and Violet, was that you couldn't go like inside any buildings. I thought it was so ridiculous, and it kind of killed the world for me. It didn't feel real. It just felt like I was kind of seeing snapshots of a city. Legends ZA did a better job with this, but then again, we were still like stuck to just a city. But yeah, I think for me, when it comes to Pokemon, the world is the most important part, right? I want to see how these Pokemon are interacting with the world. I think what you said with the NPCs, like having a little bit more reason to be where they are, as fun as it is to go into a town and see static NPCs standing in the same exact spot, forever. I prefer if that wasn't the case. I think going back to Legends Arceus again, they did a really cool thing where the main hub town, there were certain missions that you would do where a trainer would be like, hey, can I get this Pokemon? Like, can I get a ground type Pokemon? And then you give them a ground type Pokemon, and then that Pokemon now existed next to that trainer in that world and actually served a purpose. I thought that was really cool. So I think having a world that you can actually interact with is something Pokemon just sorely needs. And kind of to piggyback off of that, I think we really need to nail graphically how Pokemon needs to look going forward. I know a lot of people want a HD 2D style game, and honestly, we even off the podcast joked about a game in the style of like The Tourist, where it kind of adopts that aesthetic and has like maybe think of like how the older games operated, but now with this cooler, more just more aesthetically pleasing look. I think Winds and Waves is so far looking to be exactly the direction I personally want, where it's as close to the anime as we've really seen, while keeping like some level of graphic fidelity that's like comparable to what we're seeing now. I don't want something to look like, Elden Ring, but I know some people for some reason want that. But me personally, I love my cartoony graphics. I just want it to look good. But I think as far as the world goes, that's what I want. I want a world that is more interactive, something that you could do. And I want it to just look good. So as far as like presentation, that's kind of what I'm going for. But next up, I kind of wanted to tackle like gameplay. I know, Zach, you're like me, where we both really enjoyed the outing of ZA in terms of how that gameplay style is. And ever since we started this channel, I think I've learned that maybe there's quite a few people that don't agree with us on that front. But I think that there could be a really cool middle ground. For me personally, I would love to see a battle system that is still turn-based, still true to what Pokemon is, but maybe offers a little bit more interactivity. So I'm going to just do a little quick pitch of like how I would love to see it. And then you could kind of take the reins from there. But what I would love to see is turn-based battles. Me and you, we're in a battle. We send out our Pokemon. But not only are we selecting our move when it's our turn, I think it'd be really cool if we selected our placement along with the Pokemon's placement. So let's say it's my turn. I can move around and my Pokemon will actually move with me. So I can kind of adjust the distance between us. So like, let's say I want to pull off an Ice Beam. I know I could be a little further back, and maybe that's advantageous for me because maybe you have like a very strong physical fighter. So I can maybe bring my trainer as far as possible, shoot off an Ice Beam, hit you from afar. And now on your turn, you have to kind of readjust your placement. I think it's a really cool way to kind of integrate maybe a little bit more into the kind of into the strategy of battling, right? Give it more of a tactical feel. And since Pokemon Champions is kind of taking the reins when it comes to competitive Pokemon battling, I think now the main series could really experiment a little bit more when it comes to gameplay style. So with that said, that's kind of what I want to see. But Zach, what would you like to see gameplay wise of this perfect Pokemon game that doesn't exist and probably wouldn't?
My perfect Pokemon game would probably be some version of real-time battling, but like completely different, meaning like just the most fully realized version of that, where there's like dodge mechanics, like you can actually have a dedicated dodge button. But that said, this isn't just a perfect Pokemon game for me. I'm viewing this as also like what would be a perfect Pokemon game for everyone. Mine would be some version of real-time battling because I've done so much turn-based that I like the real-time battle system, but I would like to see that more fully realized. But that said, a perfect Pokemon game for everyone, I think, would be a blend of what you just said. Absolutely, more of a like more of a turn-based battle system, but where there are some like area of effect elements and things that happen based on where you like set up your Pokemon, where you move around. I would love this personally. I was actually thinking about it while you're talking, and it would be super cool if, for instance, you could choose to dodge on your turn, but it doesn't take a turn to do it. Meaning, so like for instance, if Gyarados is setting up for a Hyper Beam, you could tell your Pokemon on that turn to dodge, and is what it'll do, like there will be a counter effect. You can't just dodge and attack. It'll half your attack or something like that. Or if you choose to stay, it might even like boost your attack by 20% by not dodging. Like you could like choose to stay, and I think that would be really cool. And just seeing the like effect pattern of like if you choose to like go this way with your Pokemon, like Surf is gonna have a range of where it actually hits, and that might depend on where your placement is on the battlefield. I love stuff like that. I think that would be super cool to still have a turn-based battle system, but have some kind of effects that just change up the placement and how you strategize it. But I love what you said in terms of how the actual battling system would work. I think that would please a lot of people, and it would make for a perfect and very interesting setup. But beyond the battling, I also just feel like gameplay wise, I love in Pokemon games where there are mini games. I'll call them mini games for lack of a better word, but like where there's different options. Like I loved in Ruby and Sapphire where they introduced like Pokemon contests, like stuff like that. I think if we could bring some version of that back in a big way, or like I say this in everything, but I want some like mini game where you can actually like go like racing with your Pokemon. Like you get to a specific town, for instance, and they're like, oh, in this town we do like Pokemon racing, and like it doesn't have to be every Pokemon is able to race. Maybe it's only like 5 to 10 Pokemon, but for instance, like Onix has his own style of racing, and you can ride Onix. Like you can ride a Snorlax and it bounces bounces it around, like, whatever that looks like. Like, I don't know. I just think like any time they can introduce something like that where it breaks it up and it's like a surprise, like, oh my goodness, like I get to experience Pokemon in the real world besides just battling. Anything where you get to experience Pokemon in a different way makes the Pokemon game so much more interesting to me. Not taking away from battling, because battling should be the core element. That is what the main series is all about. But yeah, I just think that would be awesome. And then also for me, like, story is a big thing. I feel like in a lot of the past Pokemon games more recently, the story is very kiddish. Like the evil team, for instance, is always like, oh, we don't want you at our school. This is we're this person's biggest fan. It's like, what? Like, that's not an evil team. Like, I'm sorry. I want like a real evil team that is like trying to destroy the world again. And I would love the NPCs to just be iconic, and like them to have agency too, like, and to be threatening. There's like so many NPCs lately, or like gym leaders, that just don't feel threatening, because I know I'm gonna mow them down with this team or this team, etc. And I would like it to feel like scary again when you battle like a big gym leader or the Elite Four, where it's just like, man, I don't think I stand a chance. I do got to go grind for a while to even remotely stand a chance against these people. So for me, those are some elements that would make it a perfect Pokemon game. And also just a roster of Pokemon that really fits the environment and feels like they belong there, and is, again, equally like kind of iconic but also unique and like special. I mean, that's an easy one. We always want the Pokemon to be better, or to be great at least. I hope the starters for whatever that game is, the perfect Pokemon game, they would have a perfect evolution system where the starter, the middle, and the final Evo are all super cool. Like, obviously that's kind of a given. But Joe, I've laid out my expansive list. Is there anything you want to add to making the perfect Pokemon game before we throw it to them? Because I also really want to hear from people in the comments, like what they want out of a perfect Pokemon game. Like, we can make 10 videos on this, I swear, if we want.
Yeah. I think one of the things that makes Pokemon so cool is that I think so many people want different things that like the moment you hear it, you're like, yeah, that would be sick. And I think if there's just a few more things I could add, funny enough, real quick, when you were talking about the evil teams, the funniest thing about it is that the de-evolution of how important evil teams are in Pokemon is so intense that we went from having like Team Rocket, which is legitimately just a group of like gang members essentially who are stealing Pokemon and things around the world, to Legend ZA, where there isn't an evil team at all. Like, they actually kind of bait you into thinking that there's someone evil in the story, and then it's like, no, it's actually just one big thing. It's just a thing that is evil. It's not even a team. So I would like to see a return to actually having a force in the world that is against you, that you have to overcome, because I think that that's a huge part of Pokemon, really. And this is the last thing for me. What I want in a Pokemon game is the ability to, and it goes back to that word you said, agency, have the agency of a Pokemon trainer who actually exists in the Pokemon world. I love battling, and I think battling, as you said, should always be the core of a Pokemon game. But how cool would it be if you picked up a Pokemon game and you decided, hey, there is the storyline where you become the gym, you go through the gyms and you become the champion of the region. But how cool would it be if, like in the old anime, you had people like May and Dawn, who their only want was to be the best Pokemon contest trainers, right? Like, what if that was a thing that you could do? What if you could join an evil team? I mean, this all sounds like things that everyone has always wanted for years, but I just think Pokemon is an RPG, right? But it's probably the least RPG ever. We don't have side quests, really. We don't have like character builds. The only thing you could really do is make your team and level them up. I think we could really push. My perfect Pokemon game would be really push what an RPG means for Pokemon. I want to be able to pick my starter, and then I am genuinely set off on a journey. If I want to beat the gym leaders and become the champion, I could do that. If I want to go to towns and do Pokemon races, I should be able to do that. I think the ultimate game is a game where you actually have that full agency as a trainer to decide what type of trainer you are. Do you want to be a Pokemon professor and just focus on maybe doing like a Legends Arceus thing where you're just going around catching Pokemon. I think progression should be tied to you and your goals. There could be an overarching story. Maybe there's this evil team, but that's the only thing everyone has in common. The way you tackle this world as a Pokemon trainer could be unique to you. And I think that would be so much more interesting, because imagine, Zach, you and I get this game and you're like, hey, I love gym battles. I'm just going to do that. We both complete the main story, but at the end, you tell me you're the champion of the region. I'm like, yeah, I didn't quite get to that because I loved doing, the Pokemon contests like we were talking about. Like I went through that storyline, and now I'm the champion of Pokemon contests. I think it would be really cool just to kind of have that, and it would really lend itself to what Pokemon used to be, where you're kind of on the playground as a kid and you're sharing stories with your friends, and you kind of all have like different stories, but yeah, I mean, for me, that would be the perfect Pokemon game, a game where you could just kind of exist in the Pokemon world and live in it however you want to live in it. But I think that's pretty much where I stand. So yeah, guys, I mean, you heard it here first. Zach and I have some ideas that Game Freak will probably never listen to, but just for the fun of it, I think we would really genuinely love to hear what you guys think of our ideas, what ideas you guys would like to see in Pokemon. And you could also be more realistic. Maybe tell us in Winds and Waves what you're looking forward to seeing in a more grounded sense, like what you actually think will happen. But really, I think what would be most fun for us to go through the comments and see is pitch the game that you want. Really pitch the Pokemon game you want, because who knows, maybe one day someone at Game Freak's going to be watching Bros and Badges, and they go into the comments and they see one of your comments and they're like, you know what, that's not a bad idea. But ultimately, I think that's why we're making this video. We love the series and we would love to see it grow into something so much more. So that's today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, we're Bros and Badges.